Hello and welcome to the show. We call it Molotsky on Money. What is this show all about? That's an excellent question, isn't it? The clues are in the title. We'll be discussing money, specifically investment strategies, taxes, estate planning, insurance, and many other topics, all of it designed to help you and your family improve your overall financial picture. The Molotsky part of our title comes from our panel. Their name is Molotsky. Each week, we'll have Stan Molotsky, president and founder of the SHM Financial Group, as well as Lee Molotsky, Vice President of the SHM Financial Group. Stay tuned because we have valuable information on this show and every show that we hope everyone can benefit from. And tonight's program is certainly no exception. We have a lot to talk about, as we do each and every week. Good to have you guys back with us.
Good to see you
here on the show. You get many questions about many things. I mean, I know you're at a party on a Saturday night and people say, listen, I got this investment, what do you think about it? So you're giving out free advice all the time, correct?
I don't do that anymore.
Okay. See your broker, right?
That's right.
Exactly. But I guess the question that we're going to talk tonight about annuities, which is another tool. We always talk about tools in your kit of financial planning for everyone. And we're going to talk about that. Are they good things, or explain what an annuity is, Stan?
Well, an annuity, there are various kinds of annuities. And basically an annuity is when you deposit your money into a situation and you get an interest rate, or you get a credit based on the performance of the markets with various protections based on the particular carrier and the particular thing that you're trying to accomplish. It's basically a deposit with an insurance carrier linking gains to the market or to a fixed rate or combinations thereof. There are differences between what they call a fixed annuity and a variable annuity. Lee, why don't you just take 2 seconds and go over what a variable annuity is, and I'll come back to the fixed annuity.
Sure, the variable annuity, your principal value in nature, according to the word variable, varies in nature based upon the underlying assets that are within the annuity contract. In a fixed annuity, as it says on the screen, the gains are based upon a fixed rate. A variable annuity is generally tied to some stock market movement, the S&P 500, the Dow, the mutual funds, the underlying sub-accounts in the variable annuity. So the variable annuity implied varies in nature to the value of the account.
The advantage of doing that in a variable annuity is that you can move the money around in the sub-accounts without incurring the tax liability that you would if you owned mutual funds on your own outside a variable annuity, because it's under the variable annuity insurance umbrella. That's the advantage of it. For that, you also have the advantage of all the gains that may be incurred in the movement of those sub-accounts. The disadvantage is there are a lot of expenses that people aren't aware of to have a variable annuity. And also, you have, in most cases, all the loss that may be incurred in those sub-accounts versus the fixed annuity where you're fixed. Your principal doesn't deteriorate. It can only go up based on the linkage or the interest that you're getting in that particular account. Totally different, I don't want to call them animals, but they're totally different animals. Totally different kinds of things. And based on a person's risk tolerance and understanding, determines which of those two, if either of them, make any sense.
All right, the fixed annuity is just what it says, correct? It's you put the money in and you get a fixed rate of return. Is that correct?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It can be a fixed rate of return, which is traditional, or you can, in some cases, link it to the market performance of the Standard & Poor, the Dow Jones, the Russell, even the European index, or even a commodity index. If that's what you want to do, you get a percentage of that gain on a year-to-year basis.
You can link the gain to that particular underlying index.
So the gain becomes your interest.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
But the principal in a fixed annuity is always fixed.
How many annuities are out there in the world? Any idea?
Zillions, and each company has variations of the particular annuity thing. I mean, we use the annuity products in our practice, to a certain extent. Rarely have we used the variable annuity because in our managed money department, we can make better use of a person's money who wants to be directly involved in the market and use the fixed annuity more as the bond portion of the person's overall portfolio.
How do you determine, because you hear people say, well, annuities, and we're going to, in our next segment, we're going to show them an example of how an annuity works, and you're going to talk about your custom annuity review and the expenses and all of that, which is the theme of the show tonight. But how do you help people determine, well, I'm going to do this annuity, or maybe I'm going to do stocks or mutual funds? How do you figure that out for people?
I would suggest we take the SHM Financial Stress Test initially.
That's first.
And that'll help out determine where on the red ball, green ball chart someone is. So for some red ball money, maybe they do use a variable annuity. Maybe they use ETFs, maybe they use mutual funds. But those are monies that you don't mind having at risk in the market. That's red. Green is safety and security. So we'll go back to our chart at some point and we'll look at red ball, green ball. We'll look at their comfort with having some monies in the red ball portion.
Everybody's different. Everybody has to have a plan based on their goals, objectives, risk tolerance, health, tax bracket, and they have to constantly upgrade and adjust it based on changing circumstances. And as we all know, circumstances change so fast that you have to look at what you're doing quicker, more often than what you have in the past.
Well, is there one better than the other? Is an annuity better than a mutual fund, or how does that work?
The answer is a great answer. It all depends. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Depending on each individual's game plan, each individual's plan. That determines what they should be doing at this particular point in time. Doesn't mean they should lock into that forever and a day. You have to adjust it. Like the example, the person had that variable annuity, came in, we did the custom annuity review for him. Actually, the mother is a client, and the son came in because he drove her to the office. We went over some different things. We talked about different things that were going on. He said he had a couple of variable annuities. He said, how would you like to do this variable annuity report that we'll provide, showing you the expenses that he didn't even realize he had. And that's where you start.
We're showing that in our we're going to show that in our next segment.
No,
That's
right,
our next segment,
exactly.
we're going to show that. But and that's a perfect example. If somebody comes in with their mother and then they say, oh, by the way, and he had no idea what he was paying, correct?
No, none whatsoever. And what he had wasn't bad, but it was like if you were in school, you got a C. Well, some of us weren't happy. We're happy or not happy with the C, but you could have had an A, or A minus, or a B plus just by moving it over because he did not know what his expenses were. And that's what this report does. It breaks down fixed variable annuity contracts and shows exactly what the expenses are of that particular plan. And everybody should know going in and what they have, what their expenses are.
And you take it one step further and say, okay, here's what you have, and now here's what we can do to improve, to take you from a C to an A,
And sometimes
right?
you can't, exactly.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
sometimes what you have makes the most sense. And we did this report for a client of ours, and she had, now she's a client of ours, and she has this particular annuity, variable annuity. But what she has, it makes sense to keep at least for the next 9 to 12 months because she has a guaranteed locked-in rate which is substantially higher than anything she could possibly get or anything that we could provide for her at this particular point. So the analysis for her showed, no, keep that, that's great, let's see what happens at the end of the year when the renewal comes up, and let's see what they renew it at, and let's see what the other options are.
Okay, it's called the Custom Annuity Review. We're going to talk more about that here on Molotsky on Money. In fact, in our next segment, we're going to show you a really fascinating example. Stay with us. With Stan and Lee Molotsky from the SHM Financial Group, I'm your host, John DeMasi. More of Molotsky on Money right after these words. Don't go away.
Join Stan and Lee Molotsky and their guests for their next series of all-important workshops. It's a unique opportunity for you to meet Stan and Lee and the SHM Financial Group, as well as have your questions answered. All workshops are complimentary and include lunch or dinner.
Balancing safety and risk in your portfolio is very important. An easy way to do this is to use the rule of 100. The closer you get to retirement, the less time you have to recover from losses. Not adjusting your risk as you age can have a traumatic effect on your retirement. This system will provide you with the percent of your nest egg that should be allocated to either safe or volatile investments. Do you know how to classify your assets? Do you know if they fit your risk tolerance? Give our office a call today for a complimentary Rule of 100 report.
Welcome back to Molotsky on Money. I'm your host, John DeMasi, with Stan and Lee Molotsky, President, Vice President of the SHM Financial Group, providing sound financial insights and strategies since 1958. Tonight we've been discussing annuities and another tool in that massive kit that Stan and Lee Molotsky and the SHM Financial Group has, and it's called the Custom Annuity Review. We're really going to get into some interesting numbers here, Stan, in terms of annuities versus the S&P and how you're able to help people. Talk about briefly what this Custom Annuity Review is.
Well, this was something that we helped our partner put together, which basically compares annuities versus the market and also breaks down the expenses that the different annuity contracts do have. And there's a major difference between a variable annuity and a fixed annuity. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and just show, in this particular case, this was now he's a client. He wasn't a client prior to this. His mother is a client of ours. And right now, he's not right now, but he's 52 years of age. He had an annuity that he purchased, was worth $103,000, roughly 10, 12 years ago.
And he didn't buy that from you?
No.
He brought it to you that he purchased somewhere else?
Exactly. And his expenses in this variable annuity are averaging 4.27% per year. That means the client must earn a minimum of 4.27 just to break even. And when we went through the report and we went through the analysis, we basically showed how that expense, how that compared to the market itself, and then we showed him how that would compare to something else that made more sense.
Okay, very simply, here's just, after your review, here's some recommended solutions.
Basically, if he would have put it into an annuity that had no expenses like that, then the actual numbers would have been substantially greater.
And is this common, Lee, with this custom annuity review? Is this common where people come to you and say, well, I bought this annuity from somewhere, and you find high expenses or you find something that you can improve on?
Indeed, yes. The answer is yes. Well, what it does, not necessarily high expenses, it just shows literally internally the makeup and the expenses and the mortality and expense charges and rider fees, et cetera, within those annuity accounts. So the idea is to really open up the hood of the annuity, lift it up, and then see what's inside that annuity to understand what it is that you actually have. Then our step two is
to give
what do you do about
it? Okay.
If anything.
If anything.
Right. Exactly.
Sometimes we run across cases where the machinery is running very smoothly. The markets are up, doing well, the annuity is performing well, expenses are low, and all is well. But sometimes we run into cases where the market is not so cooperative, it's having issues, and the expenses are on the high side. An example of
4.27 in that example.
That's
high, right?
That's very high.
That's very high. Okay. Yeah. What's the norm? Is there a norm in expenses in terms of percentages?
No, you have to do your shopping.
Right.
There's some that are zero.
Okay. Do people know what they have? Is that common where people come to you and say, "Well, I got this," and you'll say, "Well, do you have it?" I don't know.
Well, let's say this.
Do they say that a lot?
Let's say they do for the following reason. In this particular example, the gentleman purchased this particular annuity 10 to 12 years ago. I can't expect him to remember exactly what it is that he purchased in however many years ago he purchased it. So the idea is for this custom annuity report to review that and remind this individual that he or she has.
And in this case, what he was paying for the privilege of having what he had.
Okay.
And there are alternatives.
Right, and you obviously gave him some of those, but we have something else we're going to show you here. And I think this is really fascinating because it points out, again, I'm the host, you're the financial experts, but as I look at this, it points out to me the advantage that he had with an annuity. However, Lee, you can help him do better than this in the future, correct?
Things have modernized,
Right.
so to speak. So let's go through this example.
Yeah.
If you
Can we put
bring
that back up,
graphic one
Justin, so we can look at that again? Because we want to show you this fascinating example of,
So
You know,
if
quick,
look at-
real quick, you know, just to cut to the chase, real
Right.
quick. I mean, if the money was in the Standard & Poor index and it shows the value of his 103,000 and what happened to the market every couple of years, come to the bottom, 2012, that 103,000 would have been worth 72,472.
so he would have lost money.
He would have lost money. But by being smart enough with what he did, his 103 is worth 130,762. But if it would have been in a zillion other things that some of our clients have put their money into, that 132 would be worth 166,000 because of the expenses that he was incurring all those years of that 4.25% per year. So if you eliminate that and put it into these other situations, the numbers are substantially greater. The conclusion here is by using the custom annuity report, it shows you what the expenses that you're paying actually are, and then our job is to look at different alternatives and say, okay, well, you could keep that, but it makes more sense to go over to something like this that has no internal expenses like that, so that more of that money can go into your pocket.
As you like to say, cut to the chase. He did good.
He did
But
okay.
you could have
He did
done
well.
better.
He did
Oh,
well.
yeah,
You
I mean,
could have done better for him.
Yeah, no question.
In this particular example, he way outperformed the market, and that number was 50 or 60,000 over what the S&P.
Right,
Well,
which
he
is
would have
fine.
lost money, as we said. He would have
If he was
lost money.
directly in the S&P,
Right,
yes.
yes.
Right.
He did well. But what we point out to him is that he did well at an expense
Yes.
of over 4% a year.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. The next step is, where does he want to go from there? Does he want to continue along his merry way and pay the 4.25% a year, or are there other alternatives? And
Today
part of
there
our
are.
job is to bring him alternatives.
And you bring them alternatives and you say there is a better way. You don't have to pay 4.27%, correct?
And again, it all comes back, that's right. It all comes back to knowing who you're dealing with, knowing what they represent, and pointing out that sometimes the entities that they're working with have a specific, we'll call it a product line that they can't deviate from. Fortunately for us, we don't have a product line. We're an independent entity, and our goal is to look for what would be the best thing for the particular client, not necessarily a strict, restricted, product line.
Is it safe to say that in a lot of cases, a particular financial advisor works for an entity where he's limited to what he or she can sell? They can only sell these. In your case, you can sell the world. Is that pretty much?
We can offer the world.
We can
That's
offer the
correct.
world, right.
Basically, that is correct.
Right.
Right. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with working for an entity that has a specific product line. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as it's in the best interest of the client. And the client's job is to know. I mean, are you restricted, and can you offer me this, this, and this? We can, as an entity that we have created. Other entities can't. That's what makes us different, and we think maybe a little bit better.
Okay. More to talk about here on the show. It's Molotsky on Money. We're here every week at this time discussing a variety of issues. More on this custom annuity review that Stan and Lee Molotsky and the SHM Financial Group can provide for you. With Stan and Lee Molotsky from the SHM Financial Group, I'm your host, John DeMasi. Yes, we have plenty more to talk about. We're coming back with more of the show after these words. Stay right there.
Join Stan and Lee Molotsky and their guests for their next series of all-important workshops. It's a unique opportunity for you to meet Stan and Lee and the SHM Financial Group, as well as have your questions answered. All workshops are complimentary and include lunch or dinner. Do you know what your risk tolerance is when it comes to your investments? SHM. That's 1-800-666-3974.
Welcome back to Molotsky on Money. I'm your host, John DeMasi, with Stan and Lee Molotsky from the SHM Financial Group. As we like to say, providing sound financial insights and strategies since 1958. We just showed you a fascinating example of this custom annuity review, and in that particular segment, trying to show everybody everything, but really, it was a good thing that he did what he did.
Yes.
But you could have done a little better for him, correct?
Well, yes. I mean, and now it's going forward.
Yes.
Now he says, okay, well, what do I do now? Well, we showed him like 3 or 4 different alternatives to what he has, and now it's up to him to decide which of the ones make the most sense for him.
In that particular example, and what really struck me was, had he put that in the S&P 500, had he not had that annuity with whatever he had,
Principal protection.
protection, he would have lost several. I mean, he would have lost.
He would have been, he would have been behind the 8 ball,
Right.
as they say.
Yeah,
Right.
and I mean, we're talking about 12 years, because that started in 2000, correct?
And there was a point in that period where his money was in half.
Yes.
By leaving it in the markets themselves. And this is the normal person, businessman, working hard, working 20 hours a day, 9 days a week, to provide for his employees and his spouse and the children, and to help his mom and do different things. So he doesn't have a lot of time to devote, but he needs to the markets. But he needs to know that he needs something in the markets over a long period of time to protect himself against inflation. This is the normal thinking. But having it in the markets over the last 10, 12 years has not been the greatest thing because of the ups and downs that the market has provided. So what he had was okay, but it could have been substantially better, as we pointed out.
But it's a good thing he had that, because
Oh, yeah,
I
sure.
mean,
He
in
would've
08, I remember seeing in 08 he lost half his money.
Well, that's what happened.
In 08 when the market went down. Lee, does this say then, based on that example that we showed in the last segment, does this say to people, you really should strongly look at annuities because of some of the features and the protections that they offer?
The annuity world has been completely and continues to be modernized. They bring to you many things that are not normally available by owning a mutual fund or owning a particular individual stock. So today we look for many things, one of which is an income benefit, which guarantees that income can get paid to you over a lifetime or over a period certain or over whatever it is your goals and objectives are. You can't get that with a mutual fund or an individual stock, and there's no guarantees. So many things have changed and modernized in the annuity world, and that's why this custom annuity report, custom annuity review is extremely important to have done. Even if you don't have an annuity, it's something to talk about. If you have an annuity, really get the custom annuity report review done to see what it is that you actually have and own, to see if it still fits into what your objectives are.
And this is
And see what-
complimentary now?
At
Is
the
that
moment.
okay,
It- And it shows you the expenses, which are important for people to know. If they can eliminate some of the expenses in what they do, that's that much more money that goes in their pocket, especially in today's economic environment with the interest rates as low as they are. Plus, some of the newer annuity things that are out there, not only do they have an increasing income rider, which they have had in the past, but at a much lower cost, they also have an increasing death benefit, which is another fascinating thing, which has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it does in the sense that it's part of the growth of the annuity world and why some of these things make a certain amount of sense for some people.
Again, if he has an annuity, which he has from 2000, wherever he purchased it, perfect time for him to review it, and that's why we did it.
Okay, we have some questions here from folks, either from the radio show or from emails or from wherever they've come from, but here's a question from Samuel in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and Samuel says, I've heard your radio show for years, like what you have to say about a lot of things. About these annuities, my neighbor says that they aren't too good, but I keep hearing people say that some of them can make you money. I'm really confused. Can you help me sort this out? I guess we have to ask what the neighbor does for a living, right?
Well, that's, you know, some are good, some are bad. It's the old story. I mean, it's like, you know, the analysis we just did. What that client, who will now be a client, but what he had wasn't bad, but there were things that were better. So it's just a matter of what, where, when, and how to determine what makes the most sense for the particular client. Yeah, some of them aren't too good. Some of them have, like that one did, very, very, very high expenses. So they're not so good in today's environment where you can do the same thing at a much, much lower, you know, cost. And that's our job, is to find those different things and present them to the client.
What's fascinating from the history, from a historic point of view, is that many of the variable annuities over the last 10 to 12 years that were in the business are no longer in the business.
Okay.
Correct. So somebody may have a variable annuity, but that particular company may no longer be involved in the business of providing variable annuities. So they're servicing those old accounts, excuse me, but they're no longer in the business. So really very important, again, not to stress this, the use or utilization of the variable annuity or the annuity report, but please take advantage of this custom annuity review. Let us take a look at the annuity, do this, provide for you, complimentary at the moment, this custom annuity review to see what it is that you have, what the sub-accounts are doing, how they performed, what the expenses are, and to see if it's something that they actually should
I wanted to mention
continue.
before we leave you tonight that Stan and Lee Molotsky are having another series of their complimentary workshops, and they will be coming up in May. If we can show that, Justin, if you have that up there. The seminar's coming up May 21st and 23rd. The first one is Il Vigianos on Berlin Road in Cherry Hill, and on the Thursday, the 23rd, the Mansion on Main Street in Voorhees, New Jersey. Registration 6 o'clock. The program starts at 6:30, followed by complimentary dinner. Is this the kind of a setting where people can say, they can ask you questions about their annuities, about their mutual funds, about whatever?
Yes, I mean, we go through the presentation, and then at the end of the presentation, we'll be certainly there to answer whatever questions we have. And some of the other people that work with us will also be there. We have an attorney that's on staff, he'll be there. We have some CPA people that we're affiliated with. Hopefully we can get them there now that the tax season's over. And you know, other people that work with us are normally there to help answer whatever questions might possibly be. And during the course of these programs, they will be introduced to our viewing audience
This
as
is
well.
called the fiscal cliff versus the retirement cliff.
That is
correct?
exactly
You're going to explain
right.
that, right?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Yes.
And with that, we're going to put the wraps on another edition of Molotsky on Money. Don't forget, we are here every week at this time. You want to talk to Stan or Lee Molotsky or any member of the SHM Financial Group, the number's been up on the screen. You can go to the website, you can email them, whatever. And we thank you for watching. Hope you got a lot of information out of tonight's show. But we'll do it all over again next week at this time. Molotsky on Money. For Stan and Lee Molotsky, I'm your host, John DeMasi. Thanks again for watching. Talk to you next time here on Molotsky on Money. Take care.
Join Stan and Lee Molotsky and their guests for their next series of all-important workshops. It's a unique opportunity for you to meet Stan and Lee and the SHM Financial Group, as well as have your questions answered. All workshops are complimentary and include lunch or dinner.
Throughout our working years, we accumulate as many retirement nest eggs as possible. The problem is, not much attention is given to the color of the eggs. Do you know how much of your assets should be allocated to each color? At our firm, we have a system that helps you allocate your retirement nest eggs correctly. We have a simple way for you to group your retirement assets into red, yellow, and green money. Give us a call today and we will help you sort and label your retirement nest eggs, giving you a clear picture of the color of your retirement.